He mihi noe ki o katou katoa. Flood warnings have been issued for 5 Southland rivers today, and a number of state highways have been affected by surface flooding in the south. Environment Southland has issued flood warnings for the Mataura, Waikaia and Makarewa rivers and the Waikaka stream, as well as the Hamilton burn. Northwest parts of the province had over 50 millimetres of rain in the last 2 days, with coastal areas receiving between 20 and 30 millimetres. Warmer temperatures in eastern Southland in recent days have caused snow melt, and wetted catchments have continued to swell with rainfall. Environment Southland is monitoring the situation, and the New Zealand Transport Authority is urging drivers to take extra caution. A proposed bylaw which recommends people own no more than 3 cats and regulates animals being kept in the city drew 39 submissions, with 9 in opposition, at a council meeting late yesterday afternoon. Submissions were heard on the proposed keeping of animals, poultry and bees bylaw yesterday, and Environmental Health Manager John Youngson says the bylaw should make guidelines clearer for pet owners. He says some legalities need to be checked, and the bylaw could be passed at the next full council meeting in a fortnight. One of the purposes of the proposed bylaw is to regulate the keeping of animals to ensure they don't create nuisance or endanger health. It targets cats, poultry, bees, livestock and pigs. The future direction of Southland's tourism industry was discussed by around 80 people at a conference in Invercargill today. One of the main topics being discussed was South, a Christchurch airport initiative to boost visitor numbers in the South Island, including Southland. Also discussed how the industry can tap into the growing Asian market. A trade representative based in Shanghai is promoting the region to potential tourists, with Venture Southland and Destination Fiordland each paying $5,000 and other regional organisations also contributing. South manager Dave Hawkey says the project will help compensate for a drop in traditional visitor numbers.
It's really a collaborative project that's been driven by Christchurch International Airport. It's around putting a stronger South Island marketing proposition into particularly long-haul markets, markets in particular China, Japan and Korea, which are sort of, some of those are more mature markets like Japan and Korea, but China is certainly a market that is very much up and coming. So it's really getting the 12 or 13 RTOs in the South Island working collaboratively with the airport company. Christchurch Airport is the gateway to the South Island. So putting a stronger destinational message out there into the marketplace, and particularly working with trade.
And what sort of draw cards are you going to be using in terms of getting them actually down here?
Well, we've got to remember the South Island is very much a touring destination. We are not what I call a fly drop destination such as Fiji or Bali, etc. So what we're trying to do is encourage wholesalers in particular to develop new itineraries, which will include places like Southland and Fiordland.
Okay, and why is this important to the Southland tourism industry?
Well, tourism in Southland and Fiordland it's a big industry. It's contributing many millions of dollars to your local economy. Many of our long-haul western markets that traditionally have come to this part of New Zealand, we've seen significant declines, particularly from the UK. So new markets, if you like China, are going to be very important to, if you like, compensate for that decline. I mean, we're hopeful that those longer haul western markets will come back, but I think it will be some time given the impact of the GFC and so forth.
Okay, and what kind of contribution is Southland being asked to make in terms of this project?
Sure. All the RTOs have collectively funded a Chinese trade representative based up in Shanghai, and both Fiordland and Southland have each contributed $5,000 towards the cost of that person.
A large sign above the small Southland town of Dipton is catching the eye of motorists passing through. A large sign made from silage cover with the letters of up to 15 metres high was erected on a hill above the town at the weekend to promote the launch of a community website, dipton.co.nz. The website was the brainchild of local farmers Lyndon and Sandra Prebble and a group of locals who have spent a lot of time putting it together. The idea is for the estimated 300 to 400 people in the area to have a forum to share information, ideas and to discuss what's important to them. Stay with us after the break. Work begins on the Around the Mountains cycle trails several years after it was announced. Welcome back. Work on the 175-kilometre Around the Mountains cycle trail from Walter Peak to Kingston has begun after a wait of years. Sarah Bedford explains.
5 years ago, the Around the Mountains cycle trail from Walter Peak to Kingston was announced by government as a quick start project in the hope of stimulating the economy by creating jobs and attracting tourists. Construction finally began this week. Southland Mayor Frana Cardno, local community board members and Five Rivers councillor John Douglas visited the cycle trail near Lumsden yesterday, pleased to see work underway.
It's been a long journey from when it was announced that we were the Seven Starters project and we were getting the funding for the lot, and it has been at times a frustrating, disappointing journey, but we're getting there. We've got that nearly $4 million from central government now, and this will be just great for those communities like Athol, Lumsden, Mossburn. Fantastic.
Mrs Cardno says a similar trail in the North Island has helped small towns in the area, and she expects it will have a similar effect in Southland.
Well, there's nothing to judge it by, but by looking at what's happened to those small, remote North Island towns, I would say they will get, there will be an economic boost, and, it'll be interesting to see after it's been open a short while.
Garston Community Development Area Chair Pam Naylor says people had begun to think the trail would never happen and hopes it will be good news for the town.
I hope it will create more jobs with the hotel picking up accommodation and food outlets, and with the B&Bs. We've got about 6 in the district, so they're all hoping to pick up more nights through the cyclists.
She says some businesses are even planning to expand in anticipation of more tourists.
There's 2 B&Bs going to extend and open up new places to accommodate it, and we've also got a young gentleman who owns High Country Farm who's setting up extra cycle trails as well.
The deadline for stage 1 is the end of October, and Five Rivers councillor John Douglas says he's hopeful of meeting this, although council may need to apply for a short extension. To speed up work, council let 5 tenders for the 81-kilometre first stage of the project.
Well, because we've got it into 5 sections, it means that 5 different contractors are working at any one time. So we're expecting a fairly speedy completion.
The shape of stage 2 of the trail will be decided in early 2014, with council having underwritten $4 million and looking for funders.
By next year, we would need to be fully funded and all our I's dotted, T's crossed in terms of what's happening with stage 2. So we've got a wee bit of time yet.
The cycle trail is expected to be completed in 2 stages, with the project expected to be finished by December 2015. Sarah Bedford, South Today News.
Around 600 migrants move to Southland each year, and the high demand for migrant workers in agriculture, trades, engineering and health sectors means bogus immigration advisors are becoming a problem across New Zealand.
Immigration advisors these days should be licensed with the Immigration Licensing Authority. There will be some people taking advantage and providing advice illegally.
So in that situation, it's easy for immigrants or potential immigrants to check out their validity?
Absolutely. There's a website. The Immigration Advisors Authority have a website that you can search for licensed advisors.
So there's also been talk about immigrants being exploited by some employers, and do you have any examples of scenarios where that may have happened in Southland?
I don't have any examples in Southland, however I do hear that it can happen across New Zealand.
So if there is an immigrant who's fresh to New Zealand and perhaps isn't being given a fair go by their employer, what is the advice to them?
They can come and see me, and I would refer them on to community law, where they can check whether their employment rights are being considered. They can also go to their local labour inspector and they can also ring Crime Stoppers if there's a crime taking place as well.
One of the common issues that's come through is partners of immigrants being isolated, particularly in rural areas. Is this still an ongoing problem?
Yeah, we get a lot of migrants coming to work in Southland on the dairy farms and in the rural communities. Quite often they bring their families and partners with them, and in a lot of cases those partners can't drive and don't have driving licences, so they're very reliant upon the partners bringing them to town and taking the children to school. So it can be quite isolating in the community.
What kind of support is available for them in that situation?
We have community workers working some in the areas, and they're trying to provide sessions for them to come into town to get to know other migrants and build up their links in the communities. We also work with employers and encourage employers to help the migrant workers make those links and link up with other families as well.
New Zealanders spent close to $1.5 billion on takeaway food last year, up just over 9% on 2011. That's according to a report on the hospitality industry by the Restaurant Association of New Zealand and AUT University. The report also shows the restaurant and cafe sector saw sales grow 5.6%, catering services rose more than 9%, and pubs, taverns and bars increased 8.5%. The only sector to report a decrease was the clubs sector. The report says the three biggest challenges for businesses are labour costs, lack of skilled employees and operating costs. Despite attracting controversy like any good music event, the show will go on for the Southland finals of the Smoke-Free Rock Quest. The Southland Regional Final was cancelled last month after crew was snowed in Christchurch. However, funding from Community Trust of Southland means the gig has been rescheduled for August 3rd at James Hargest College. Although the cancellation means finalists will still need to submit videos to be considered in the national competition, organisers say the rescheduling provides an opportunity to showcase the best of Southland's young talent. And that's it from the news team this Wednesday. Coming up next on Sport, Hunter Andrews is with the Sharks as they prepare for the final round of the NBL. Pomariai.